Welcome to Spiritual Insurgency. I'm Jason Lupo, sitting here with my co-host, Aaron Lujan. And just a guy, Jim Miller.
Hello, hello.
Well, we're going to start with this video from Reuters. Trump's comments on Israel, Iran after the ceasefire. Let's roll this clip.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what they're doing. Do you understand that? I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that.
I'm not gonna lie. You know what he sounds like? He sounds like a porno director right there when he's saying that. It sounds like something being directed on a smut film.
You know,
I don't know what the funk they're doing. They've been fighting so long. They don't know what the funk they're doing. You're like, it does sound like a smut film director.
Spiritual Insurgency, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Current events through a biblical lens.
Yeah. Aaron, I know you're itching to comment on this. What you got?
I want to say that it gives me hope. He released a statement on Truth Social. I'm going to read it briefly because I think it's important and puts it in context. Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which we expected and have very effectively countered. There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down, and one was, quote, set free because it was headed in a non-threatening direction. I am pleased to report that no Americans were harmed and hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system, and there will hopefully be no further hate, all caps. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I just thought the last sentence was really funny to me. It felt like customer service or human resources was leaving a poster in the break room. Like, thank you for your compliance with this matter.
Thanks for calling Discover.
Yeah, thank you for calling. Yeah, it gives me hope because I was so focused on this New Life scandal that I honestly kind of ignored the news cycle. And frankly, I was not also just distracted, but I was discouraged. And I didn't want to face reality that we were going to go into another Middle Eastern war. But it gives me hope because what it tells me is that perhaps, just perhaps, the internet was right when they said that there was a peace deal between the United States and Iran. Marco Rubio, I guess, had gone to Tehran, and there was indication that there was going to be a peace and there was going to be some ceasefire taking place. And then as soon as that news broke out, boom, Israel hits Tehran and takes out their military leadership. And it looked like a war was getting started off. And so what I'm thinking happened now is that perhaps Trump, I'm hoping, call me foolish, but I'm hoping he's seeking peace. And maybe he played a little 4D chess with Israel so he could have his cake and eat it too. He allowed Israel to do what they did, which was unfortunate, but then kind of said, okay, I bombed them. You got your nuclear uranium enrichment stuff taken out of the way. Are we okay now? Are we cool? Can we go back to peace? I'm hoping, and it's looking like that's kind of what's happening here.
So the art of the deal. The art of the deal. But it does look like Trump has made numerous strides in the direction of peace throughout the world. And we've talked on this show about some of the atrocity in Africa that's taken place for a long time. Just a couple days ago, as this whole Iran thing was going on, Pakistan basically puts in a recommendation for Trump to get the Nobel Peace Prize for the quick action that Trump and Marco Rubio played in the ending of that India-Pakistan conflict. But also President Donald Trump announced last Friday he and Secretary of State Marco Rubio had secured a wonderful treaty between Rwanda and Congo. I am very happy to report that I have arranged, along with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a wonderful treaty between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the Republic of Rwanda in their war, which was known for violent bloodshed and death. More so even than most of other wars, and has gone on for decades, Trump wrote in a Truth Social announcement. President noted representatives from Rwanda and the Congo will be in Washington on Monday to sign documents. He went on to discuss his chances at winning a Nobel Peace Prize, claiming he wouldn't get one no matter what I do.
Well, you saw during his first term. I mean, he had the world pretty peaceful. I think he had everybody kind of calmed down. Everybody was like, "All right, you're not doing dumb stuff no more." You know whose perspective and who I would want to hear about everything going on. Honestly, I'd want to hear what is it? Kim Jong Il, get well, whatever.
Kim Jong Un.
Yeah, whatever the heck. I want to hear what he's saying. He was like,
Rocket boy.
"Oh, nobody want to play with me."
Nobody
I just want to see what his opinion is. Like, nobody pay attention to me no more.
Nobody want to play with Rocket Boy.
You're like, where is he at? You know, kind of thing. I kind of want to know what he's thinking. I mean, is it gonna be like the Team America version, kind of where he's like, so lonely, you know?
I'm so lonely.
You know, but but Trump has shown, he did show in his first term, and you got to give him his credit where his credit's due. The first term he was around, dude, the whole world was like, all right, let's be cool, let's be peaceful, let's try to get along a little bit. It's not going to be kumbaya, but we're going to get the ya part. Maybe not the kumba part, but we'll get the ya. You know, it's like watching The Lion King, you know, Akuna, we just got Matata, so it's fine. But it's good enough because everybody's just getting along, and that's fine. And he does show that that's what he wants. He wants everybody to just, look, be cool, knock it off, knock your nonsense. It includes Israel stuff, which I'm fine with. That's fine. You don't need to be instigating a bunch of crap. So he does have a track record of wanting everything to be just cool.
Yeah, I think maybe this idea of strength through power may actually work in this case.
It's definitely not like Joe Biden doesn't even know what's going on, or if he's eating paste or grapes or yogurt, or if it's just in his drawers, you know. He doesn't know. And he was just sitting there and everything's just falling apart and going to crap everywhere, and that guy didn't care.
Yeah, and we're U.S. focused, but there's something that I think needs to be said, which is the Iranian people. They've been trying to overthrow this oppressive Islamic regime since the 70s, right? So this will, I believe, potentially break the back of the regime. With all of this chaos comes a possibility for order. And I think this is a prime opportunity for the young Persian people in Iran to basically throw these leaders out. And this is your moment, Iran. This is your moment to take back your country. I think the United States should stand in solidarity with the Iranian people, because we all just peace-loving, peace-seeking people that just want to mind our own business and pursue our dreams. And, you know, I God bless the Iranians. We should be able to do it in the U.S. We should be able to do it in Iran. And so I see this as an opportunity.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for them to show the rest of the Middle East what it looks like to take back their country as well. I mean, there are some very profitable countries in the Middle East that have rejected ISIS for years and have kept them out of their countries and kept the Taliban out. And to see Iran have this opportunity to get back to a profitable country where their citizens can survive and thrive more so than what they currently have, and maintain that peace, I think is huge.
Oh, yeah.
I think from a worldview of something that's slightly forgotten, not to cut you off there, but I think people understand too, a lot of times with these other countries, because we're U.S. focused, we live in the States, but you look at some of these other countries, and just because the leaders are doing something or saying something or instigating something, it doesn't necessarily correlate with the population, especially in a lot of these other countries, and especially like the Middle East and desert, all the different Aladdin lands, you know what I mean? It's a different thing. The people are just doing stuff, you know, they're going to market and, you know, watching their goats or whatever the hell. And then we got, you know, they're like, oh, this government's doing that, and everybody's not about that. People are just trying to live their lives for the most part as far as the population aspect of it goes.
Does this change? So this has been a roller coaster for 2 weeks where, you know, we sit here and we try to decipher everything through a biblical worldview and through a biblical lens. But just last week, we were talking about this MAGA civil war, and we watched and spent a lot of time talking about the Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz interview. Does this bring back the Republican Party in terms of those that kind of fell away from Trump? Did Trump just pull them back in, do you think?
Yes.
Did it well?
Yeah, I should have bought my MAGA hat this morning. You know, because listen, I told my wife this morning. I'm not a partisan person. I'm not a blue-haired, piercing, anti-Trump liberal. I'm not a MAGA Trump worshiper. I'm just an old school kind of call it, Pat Buchanan conservative, where I call it how I see it. And I look at Trump, and when he does bad, I'll call it bad, and when he does good, I'll call it good. And I'm on here this morning, and I'm saying thank you, President Trump, because I really believe this is solid leadership. This was biblically aligned. This was in an effort of peace. It wasn't clean, but Jason has been educating me on leaving utopia and leaving the vacuum and looking for the idealism that I think I so much want, which is a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. The reality is that the end result looks like this could be peace, and President Trump needs to get credit for that. And I do think that Tucker Carlson and that wing of the conservative Republican Party has forced the hand of Trump and has won the ideological war in this country. And Trump, I think, has acted accordingly. The fact that he denounced Israel this morning on the White House lawn is historically unprecedented. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it goes. I mean, when we go back to that conversation on APAC, and we go back to the conversation on our American politicians being bought by the
ADL, APAC.
Different special interest of other countries and their goals and aspirations, and not putting any of the peaceful, prosperous aspects to the forefront. Yeah.
Well, and I think we see the same thing, what he's tried to do with Ukraine and Russia, where basically, if you go back to the Ukraine-Russia conflict back a couple months ago, obviously it doesn't make headlines right now because of everything else going on right now. But if you look at the way that Trump handled the Ukraine-Russia conflict, he called out both sides on that one too. He's called out both sides on almost all of these conflicts and said, you both are wrong.
Well, that's one thing with him. He's on his own mindset and his own thought and his own process on things too. It's not just because he's like, oh, well, this has always been the standard, so I'm just going to do and fall in line, lockstep, barrel, heed, and step with the nonsense that's been transpiring. And let's actually be grateful and happy that, we didn't have any troops freaking deployed.
Yes.
Nobody got hurt.
Yes.
None of our
Amen.
Our children and family members and friends and
Yes.
stuff had to be stuck in some pointless, nonsensical things. That's very, very optimal.
Yes.
I think as far as some unprecedented and not going lockstep and barrel, we didn't send a bunch of nonsense and just went to looking for the better route that's got a much better long-term positive effect than just the same old crap.
Go ahead.
Does this change your opinion on Trump's attack on the nuclear facilities at all?
Does it change my opinion?
Like, do you still believe that it was not the right move for America to bomb the 3 nuclear sites in Iran?
Well, I'm rethinking it because if the fruit is peace, yes, I would change my opinion. And especially, we don't know what the deal is, what the art of the deal is. When Senator Marco Rubio, or no longer Senator, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is sitting with the Ayatollah and the Iranian regime, if only we could be a fly in the wall. We don't know what the deal was, but all we can look at is what was the end result. And the end result was that they targeted Iranians, Revolutionary Guard, and their militia networks. They cut off their resources that had been spending billions of dollars on proxy forces throughout the Middle East. They eliminated that. And perhaps, just perhaps, conspiracy theory, I'm in the realm of allegedly, Iran told the United States, we'll allow you to do that so we can de-escalate and give Israel an opportunity to basically look naked in front of the world.
Because Iran did say that they had evacuated all those facilities.
There would have had to have been a notification. There would have had to have been pre-knowledge that this was going to happen. This did not come out of the blue for Iran.
Well, and there was no. What was interesting was there was no attempt to stop those bombers.
Right, which feeds the theory that they probably knew and they allowed it to happen.
Yeah, it definitely could have been that way. I think that back to what I said, just last week, where I said this proves that Israel is not the greatest ally, because when they go and overstep the U.S. and go, we're going to bomb them anyways, we're going to go launch an attack on Iran, even though the United States is like, we don't want any part of this.
Yeah, I think the best analogy we came up with and we kind of all agreed with is that at that point in junction and with the situation at hand, Israel was looking like that friend at the bar that's like, oh, they're looking at me funny and picking a fight with people, like being a little extra. And I think that was the best analogy we came up with.
Absolutely, that's a beautiful analogy.
So I think that this is a much better outcome. I think this is good. I think this is very optimal. I got to hear him just say, got to hear the old AA run, freaking what it is. He's like, thank you, President Trump. Hey, you just want to get a MAGA hat now. I'm like, why? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to make one right now. I can't get it in the mail fast enough right now.
Someday over it.
If Trump were to run for a third term, which he won't, but anyways, his
He
next
will, but it'll be vice president. Will be maybe vice president, and then the other guy, man, what's
Vance.
his name? The Vance will be the president. They'll just flip flop the people and be like, we're doing it again. The art of the deals. And you're like, all right, man.
The campaign tagline should be "Make the world peaceful again."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now I think we have nothing but to smile. It's definitely been a very interesting couple of days. Very quick turn of events. And yeah, I'm
Well, it's
very
like that old Einstein thing, right? What's he say? He says, I don't know the weapons that'll be used in World War III, but I know World War IV will be fought, what do you say? Fought with sticks and rocks.
Yeah.
So it's always good to prevent all these big catastrophes because there's no point in it. And in the modern era with all the connectivity and the trade routes and all the goods and services back and forth. I mean, I'm big on like, well, we should make everything in our own country. I am. But there's a lot of things that come from everywhere else and sent out and so forth, and the connectivity of even the format we're using right now and the interwebs and all that. It's a very connected world now. So there is really not a lot of excuse for not discussing, negotiating, coming to terms, compromises, keeping everything kind of peaceful, especially because the only people to pay the price when there's not actual resolutions or solutions or good conclusions is the general populace. You know, it's no matter which country or whatever, it's always our children and our family members and stuff that pay the cost, not these upper echelon types or their kids, you know? So it is something to be very gracious and humbled about that it didn't become a catastrophe.
so. Given the fact that I think Trump owned the Miss Universe
It was
pageant,
in Erica, I believe. Was it Miss Universe?
I think it was the Miss Universe
Okay.
pageant, and heard so many times "World Peace."
Yeah, it got to him.
Did that influence him?
I think it did.
It did. It was the wave. It was the wave. He's like,
Thank you.
that wave, and I just want world peace. If I could be omnipotent for one day, they asked Miss Universe, I'd ask for world peace. He's like, man, you know what? Or you what?
I'm gonna make you a deal. I'm gonna give it to you, baby girl.
Oh, is that just world peace, or you know what else? Sounds inappropriate, if not provocative, when he stated in such a manner.
Well, this has been Spiritual Insurgency. Join us every day. God bless.
Peace.
You want it better, be better.